thank you, Chloe, for coming on and telling us about your business. This is Chloe Stewart Embroidery. How long ago?
So I started it officially when I was back in the UK. I started it in lockdown when we all went home for the pandemic, and I was working in fashion styling, and all of our work came to a total halt. I went back home to Suffolk, locked myself in the garage, and I started sewing. And that's when I officially started Chloe Stewart Embroidery. But then when I moved to Kenya, I relaunched it as Chloe Stewart Collective, which is the new spin on it. And that officially launched in October last year.
I don't even know what I introduced it as just then. Did I say Chloe Stewart Embroidery? Yes,
It used to be Chloe Stewart Embroidery.
totally out of date. Shows how much research I did. But can you tell us where are you? Because everyone will think you're in England, but where are you?
Okay, so I am based out in Kenya. I'm based in Nairobi. I've got my studio. I've got a studio in Kayole, which is an informal settlement in Nairobi, which is where we do a lot of our work with the ladies that I work with. I've got 4 ladies who work for me and do the embroidery, who I taught how to embroider, and they are all absolutely incredible. They're better than me at embroidering now, and they have the most incredible outlook in life. And yeah, it's exciting. They're sort of steamrolling me in their techniques and skills.
Oh, that's so good. They can teach you. They can teach you how to do it properly.
They are now teaching. I get them to do some work, and then they always come back and they're like, actually, I think we should do it like this, or I think we should use this stitch. And they have the most incredible. I often, when we do bespoke jobs, we all sit around together, and they have the most incredible outlook on color combinations in a way that I would never think of putting certain colors together. And they come to me and they say, actually, I think we should do these colors, which is so nice to kind of get they're very involved in the creative process. Like, we've got a couple of collaborations coming up, and like, we look at the drawings together and they suggest colors that we should be using, or certain like embroidery techniques that we should be using, which is so nice to kind of bounce ideas off. And as a founder, you're quite on your own, and they've definitely grown in confidence. I mean, massively. I first moved out here in February, and they've grown in confidence so much, in the sense that they'll say if something's a really bad idea, which is so nice to be able to get to that point, because at first they were really shy and just wanted to kind of go with the flow, which was very sweet. But it's nice now to have a bit more of like a conversation about all the projects we're doing.
Being able to bounce ideas is just, it's so nice, because like you said about being a founder, you can be on your own, but I suppose sometimes if you're doing projects on your own, you'd probably go with the colours that you've always been used to putting together, and having an outside perspective is so nice, and also so nice for the customer, because they must be like, wow, this is
Yeah.
incredible, and potentially not what they
It's
asked for, but they're like,
amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. And I think, Kenyans are incredible with the colours that they wear, and the colours. I mean, the colours that you get out here are amazing, in the food and the fruit and the flowers. And Kenyans as well have this incredible fashion sense, where they combine colours in a way that, we possibly don't so much. And, I guess it's a reflection of their environment. There's so many sort of bright, beautiful things out here that it's a bit more exotic compared to England.
yeah, miserable greying.
Miserable, grey, brown, muted tones.
Yeah. So can we go back to square one? Because I know we've talking about sort of the inside of the business, but can you explain your business in one sentence?
Yes. Chloe Stewart Collective it's basically a hand embroidery social enterprise, which is based in Soweto, Kayole, which is in Nairobi. It teaches hand embroidery skills to women from low income backgrounds, and in doing so, we unlock pathways for them to have a sustainable income.
Is incredible. And how did you go about finding like the first member of your team?
So I was really lucky when I first moved out here. What I wanted to originally do was I wanted to work with prisoners and and provide them with a form of employment when they come out of prison. And I went to one Kenyan prison when I first came out here, and I quickly realised that it wasn't going to be possible. I mean, it just wasn't going to work. There's a company called Find Cell Work in the UK, which I was speaking to a lot of people from there, and I was thinking this would be such an incredible thing to do in Kenya. And, you know, a lot of people stay in Kenyan prisons because it's better off than being back in informal settlements. They get food, they've got a house. So that idea just wasn't going to work, but I had an incredible workshop with them, and that was just through a connection who I met who did dance in the prisoners. And then I was asking around, and I met a friend who had done some voluntary work with this charity called USESCO. And USESCO have various projects going on, and one of their projects was in Kayole, where it's a 6-month program for women in the area, and they can either do hair braiding or machine embroidery. So I went to go and meet them, and I met the girls. There were 12 women at that point, and so I went and introduced myself and sort of got to know them all. And I was just like, would you guys be interested in learning hand embroidery? It's obviously a totally different skill to machine embroidery, but like this is what I'm trying to do, and I want to set up a social impact program for people who work for me. So yeah, it was complete fluke, and I was really lucky to have met this person, and then things were moving in the right direction. So I was like, I think you just stick with it and roll with it, and like I was getting a great reception from these women. They were incredibly quick at picking up the skill. It's like a very fiddly skill, hand embroidery, and they picked it up so quickly that I was like, let's keep going. And, you know, as I said earlier, they're far better than me now.
God, how incredible! I didn't actually know that backstory. So it's sort of, even though you did your background research and you had a plan, it all fell into place more or less when you were there and sort of meeting people and face to face with everyone.
Totally. Yeah, it's definitely a lot more. You've just got to get in front of people here. But there's so many incredible charities out in Kenya doing amazing things. And, you know, anyone who wants to contribute in any way, like, they're so open to that and so welcome. And really, these women, all they want to do is learn. Like, they want to learn English, they want to learn about business, they want to learn anything that we can offer. So part of the sort of social impact program I do is, I ask them once a month, I'm like, is there something specifically you want to do this month? And like the other day we did a beading workshop, because that's another little job that they can possibly do. They did a beading workshop and they learned how to make like beaded table mats and beaded bags, and that's like a revenue stream for them. So we do that, and then they've got English lessons with this wonderful girl called Lulu, and then they do business lessons with a guy from DHL called Sam, and then we do art classes as well with their children in the school holidays, which is so sweet. I mean, it's complete bedlam, because you start with 4 and then suddenly there's 50 and you're like, okay, right, well, I only came with 10 pencils, and they're sort of all like, I need a pencil. I'm like, God, I wasn't prepared for this. And then more and more children appear, but it's amazing, and they're sort of all fighting over the printouts. But it's kind of like, I definitely have gone with the flow. I did obviously have a plan, but a lot of it you have to be quite flexible here and, like, you know, just adhere to whatever is working and moving forward. That's what I went with.
Oh, Chloe, you're doing so much good, and so much. So many different elements, so many different parts. Oh, wow, you should be so proud in such a short amount of time. Secondly, I don't know if you want to relate this to the embroidery or the collective, but I suppose in a nutshell, what moment made you realise that you had to start something like this?
So I guess I'd always done embroidery as a side job when I was in London, and I was working for a celebrity stylist, and I was doing that as a kind of side hustle. All of our friends started getting married. I started doing napkins and like shoes and jackets for people's weddings. And I'd always had a really deep pull to Kenya. And it got to a point where I was like, if I don't move now to Kenya, then I probably never will. I've got a skill that I can work with, and it would be amazing to to make this skill a lot more impactful. And I love my job in London, but it was time to like shake things up. I had my brother here, so we'd always, been lucky enough to see Kenya, and that was really the sort of triggering factor. It was, everything was going well after I'd started it up in the pandemic, and I was like, well, let's make this a bigger thing and let's make it more impactful with more meaning. So I guess there wasn't, the original start in Long was when I had no work, and then it just slowly grew and grew, and eventually I needed a personal change from London, and it was a great opportunity to kind of start up a life here, start up a business here, kind of leap of faith, a little bit rogue, some might say, but it's been an incredible year and a bit. And, obviously, as all founders have, ups and downs, and navigating things out in Kenya can be very different to navigating in the UK. Yeah, I would say it was a gradual decision, and then eventually the time came to move, and it was like, right, we're going to do this now. And it was definitely the right thing to have done.
Because starting a business anyway is quite daunting, and it is a big risk. And you were like, well, I'm just going to jump on a plane and add to the mix as well. Because obviously it's been ups and downs, like you say. What do you think you would say is the toughest moment you've had so far? I would say
the toughest moment for me out here is navigating the Kenyan systems. So, whether that's like tax policies or employment policies, it changes a lot here, and things can get very blurred. It's just like Kenya operates in a different way to the UK. It's slightly less structured. So sticking to what the Kenyan policies are when I have no idea, I have to trust in, my accountant, and I have to trust in other people. And sometimes I get the wrong information fed back. So I think that has been the hardest learning curve. It's like, I'm a girl who used to work in fashion, and having to know about Kenyan tax and it changing every month, and, being told that I owe X amount more is always hard to know whether if I actually am needing to pay more or if it's something else. It's hard to keep up with it.
Yeah.
It's not as black and white as in Kenya, and it's not as black and white as it is in the UK. It changes a lot.
Yeah, and also that must be so hard to manage, because finances, especially at such an early stage, you have to be specific about where each bit goes. And if you're suddenly like, no, you owe us more, I'd be like, no, I can't.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, and it just, you have to, I think I've had to put up a sense of resilience and double check and triple check everything when I'm told I'm owed money. And it's a funny way to be, because I trust people blindly, and when I'm working with someone, I assume that they are telling me the total truth. So I'd say that's been quite hard. It's like, that's a world I don't understand, I don't know it, and it's a world, and especially in Kenya, it changes the whole time, so it's incredibly hard to know when it's truthful or not. I would say.
I suppose it's something that in 5 years' time, let's say, you'll look back and you'll have got it will all just be in the groove. You'll have managed it in. Your expectations will be
exactly,
and it's just a learning curve that you probably didn't think was going to be something that you'd have to sort of.
No, exactly.
Exactly,
and it's
And on to the next one. What's one thing about being a founder that no one warned you about?
I think every founder knows that you're going to have an unbelievable amount of work, but I don't think you realise the extent of it until you do it. I also thought, I'm a one-man band, and then I have the ladies who do the embroidery for me, but essentially you're covering social media, you're covering shipping, you're covering quality control, you're teaching, you're doing social impact programs, you're dealing with like inter-team politics. There's a lot of things like that where one of the ladies might have a problem with another lady, and that takes a long time to resolve. You're also just trying to stick to deadlines, and I think in Kenya, deadlines, they don't really exist too much. Like in London, everything is it's a different pace. It's so fast paced. People do things and they go over the hours and they make sure that whatever the work they need to do is completed. You know, certain, not really, the ladies who do the embroidery are fantastic and stick to timelines, but it's often, you know, other people who might be part of the packaging process, and you sort of say, okay, I need these boxes by this date, and sometimes they just don't turn up. So I would say it's an unbelievable amount of work that is on a scale that I never quite imagined, and an unbelievable amount of chasing people.
Yeah.
You know, to stick to timelines and deadlines, which I just assumed, you know, you give someone a job and they deliver it to you, and that's kind of how it works. But there's a lot of sticking on top of people and just saying, you know, how's it going? Haven't heard from you in 2 weeks. Still on time, still on target for the deadline, right? Blank. Yeah. So that's definitely, I would say I spend far too much time at the moment checking that people have done what they need to have done for our projects.
There's just especially in your world, there's so many moving parts. There's borders, there's probably flights, there's however else they travel, there's ferries, there is so many things that could hold up the next thing, and then I can't even imagine. It's the logistics in your world.
It's the logistics. There's far more logistics than you ever think. Yeah, far more logistics. You think it's funny. You create a brand and you think, great, I'm going to be the designer. I'm going to be doing all the fun stuff. I'm going to be like creating, and that is such a small part of it. In hindsight, it's, I would say, like 10% of it.
Hopefully, I suppose that's when the fun bit of starting a company comes in, is when you get someone who specialises in the logistics, they join the team, and then suddenly you open up and you're like, oh my God, I've got time to do the design. Exactly. It's just the first couple of years, it's just sort of building.
Yeah, totally. And to get to that point will be really nice. It will ease off a lot of time I spend at the moment. That would be the dream, to get that fairly soon.
Yeah, I know. We're still dreaming.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the next question, tell us the most unexpected or ridiculous thing that's happened since you launched.
Crikey. Okay, so there have been I've got quite a list, I must say. There's been several curveballs. I would say that the major sort of thing that's happened since I launched was I ordered 500 cardboard boxes to ship lampshades in, you know, before we launched. And there was a lot of silence from the packaging guy, a lot of silence. And I kept checking in. I was like, hey, like, Eric, all good? Like, the boxes are coming on nicely. Anyway, blank, heard absolutely nothing from him. And then a month and a half later, delivery arrives from a bodder guy, a motorbike guy, and he had all of these boxes, 500 boxes stacked on his motorbike. How he did it, I don't know. Like, he must have been wobbling around, and he dropped them off and was like, here are your cardboard boxes. I was like, gosh, I'd actually sort of thought they were a lost cause. Anyway, the boxes arrived, and they were ripped, they were covered in oil, they were covered in dust, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so annoying. This is so annoying. I've obviously paid this guy. Anyway, so I tried to get hold of Eric, and Eric was obviously not answering my calls or my WhatsApps or my emails. And then there's a thing out in Kenya called M-Pesa, which is like mobile money. And I had to go into Safaricom because my mobile money sort of kept disappearing. Turns out Eric, the cardboard box man, had hacked my M-Pesa account, as well as sending me 500 broken boxes, which that was definitely that was a big lesson on due diligence. So yeah, I've got loads of cardboard if anyone wants it. I don't know what to do with it all. I can't use them because they're broken and they're covered in oil and dust. Eric had the cheek to hack my M-Pesa account and give me 500 broken boxes, which was incredibly annoying.
My God! But why send the boxes? Had he not sent the boxes, he probably would have got away with nicking the cash.
I know. I know. So I've definitely fallen short of a couple of situations like that. And I think, I mean, they probably see me and think, right, this girl has absolutely no clue what she's doing.
Because it happens here. Everyone's out to sort of try and nick a couple of quid here and there. But yeah,
I know.
I think, like you said, in
Honest-
5 years' time, you'll look back and you'll be like, that's a scam. That's a scam.
That's honestly, now, whenever anyone, I'm like, I'm so twitchy about everything. I'm so twitchy. But no, actually, there was another one that I thought of, which was less of a scam, but more just like, it was something that I hadn't ever expected to deal with, and it was, so I've got 4 ladies in my team, and they're all amazing. They're all from different tribes, and this is something that I didn't expect to deal with, but like tribal relationships in Kenya are so deeply rooted. And there was an instant where, I don't know, someone just like had a rift, as you do at work, and one of the ladies was a bit annoyed with the other lady, and it really like caused quite a lot of friction for about a month. And, you know, we all had to sit down, and I had to speak to them and be like, come on guys, like what's going on? And suddenly this like whole thing came out where they had been working on tablecloths together, but what I hadn't realised was I'd paired 2 people from different tribes to work on the tablecloths. You know, one had been annoyed that the other one had done more motifs than her, and it caused a real issue within the team. And I thought they were all really good friends. They all live in Kayole together, but there is so much more to it than just where they live. Like their tribes are everything. And so that was like quite a big thing to have learned, you know, quite late on as well. I've been working with these ladies for over a year, and suddenly I was like understanding the dynamics of how I need to pair them on working on certain projects, you know, and it makes quite a big impact on their work as well. Like if they're not all getting on, they spend a lot of time together, you know, in our studio doing something that's quite stationary, and it's important that they all like chat and support each other and look out for each other. And when that was all going on, I thought, oh my God, I don't know how to unite these ladies. It's really hard, but we did sort it in the end. We put it aside, and now I know, which is good to have learned now, I guess.
Yeah, God, that is. I mean, it's like HR to a new level. You really need to understand like you said, the roots and what's going on underneath the surface before.
Yeah, 100%. And we now have a, you know, like all these ladies live a very tough life, and they've all got children and a lot of children to feed, and we've now got a kind of counsellor who comes once a month, and she does group sessions with them, and they can just, you know, sit and chat with her about their problems, whether that's at home or whether it's like, you know, they can talk to her, you know, about work stuff, or if they're stressed about things. And that's actually been a really good, you know, introduction to them, because they've started to lean on each other a lot more. Because before, and I think this is not, you know, maybe this generalization, but before they were like, you can't tell anyone anything because Kayole is such a small place, and we don't want people knowing our secrets, and they were very like guarded on everything. And then they've sort of really now started to kind of lean on each other as proper friends, and if they're having troubles at home, or often money troubles, then they really do, they chat to each other a lot more, which is really nice.
So you've created like a safe space for them now.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, Kayole is not, you know, it's not necessarily safe the whole time. I often get Ubers there, and a lot of Ubers are like, I'm not going to Kayole. They won't take me. So you have to try a couple of Ubers, and they'll just be like, no, I'm not going to Kayole. And I personally have never felt like scared being there. There's been a couple of times we've had drunk men coming into the studio, And most of the time they just go, Mzungu, Mzungu, and like laugh at me. And they're like, what are you doing here? And all the girls like roar with laughter. And I'm like, okay, thanks, can you please leave now? And he goes, oh, Mzungu. And I'm like, no, stay away. But yeah, it's not an easy place for them all to live. And like, they all have a lot of children, which is financially difficult as well.
God, it is. It just sounds like so far from me right now, but it does. You like what you do every day is just incredible. And where do you see yourself, the business, in 1 year's time?
So I hope in 2026 I want to be fully immersed in it. At the moment, I'm still having to do freelance work, which, you know, just to help support my life, and I want to switch over and be fully full-time to this because it's now requiring so much more time and work. But my big dream is to do a collaboration with some big designers in both Kenya and in England and produce a range where it's ethically minded and it's showing slow fashion, which is artisan-led, because I think that is just disappearing more and more in this like fast-paced world that we live in. And you know, we as hand embroiderers, I'm always up against machine embroidery, and I think to like strip it back and get some designers who want to invest in slow fashion and support a social enterprise would be incredible. So that's my sort of next stage of like approaching some people who I think would be interested in doing that.
Yeah. I think if you give them about 5 minutes of an intro of what you do, I can't see anyone not being interested in it. But again, it's the time, isn't it? It's finding the contacts, it's reaching out. But
Exactly. But yeah, I think it would be a really cool thing. And obviously I want to be stocked on a couple more places. I'm stocked on the Roost and Social Supermarket, which are online. And then I've got some stock in House of Treasures, which is in Nairobi. So I need to upscale that and spread the embroidery further around the world.
yeah. Well done, and good luck with the year ahead. But yeah, you're doing amazingly, and I love hearing all these insights I didn't know before. But thank you so much for coming on the Pally Talks show.
Thank you for having me. It's been so nice to chat it all through with you. It's been amazing.